Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. The worldwide download celebration has indeed begun, and already we have a data thread. We have a breakdown of the new Ultimate Red Zone Wicked Bloodline edition already for you. We're on Dokkan's Twitter, so I will leave his link in the description down below, and also so you can check this thread out if you're struggling, you just want to see what Frieza and Cooler does. But there's a breakdown for stage 1 against Frieza and stage 2 against Cooler. We're going to go through them now. We're going to be prepped. I'm going to prep you. And yeah, so don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new. And also, before we do quickly go into it, there is currently a bug on Global where Cooler doesn't super attack. So by the time you see this video, it may already been patched. Dokkan will probably snuff that out like very quickly. But just in case it isn't, go do Cooler as basically as quick as possible. Regardless if you've done Frieza yet, go do Cooler while he is bugged. But stage 1 against Frieza goes like this. He goes from Strength to Fizz to Int to AGL to Tech, of course, going through all of his transformations on Namek from first form to full power. You'll notice throughout the entirety, you can dodge and you can counter him. So that is one immediate kind of bonus. You can do that. You can also, on his first form, lower his attack and defense, but I can't imagine, considering this is the first phase, you'll be spending too much time here for it to even matter. I mean, you could lower his defense to get through it even quicker, which could help you avoid damage depending on where he super attacks you or if he does. Not to mention, you could lower his attack, potentially take a little less damage in the very beginning. But he starts off with 15 million HP, nothing too special. Does 130k on basics, which isn't really going to do too much in the grand scheme of things, depending on who gets hit. Considering you're going to have your defense, you can have stackers, raise your defense for the turn, whether that's by 30, 50, or even 100%. Also units that have guard damage reduction, and potentially even dodge encounters if he does super as well. For the most part, this isn't really going to do anything. He does 6 attacks, he has a 13% chance to do 1 less attack in the turn. He has 45k defense, he will do 325k super off the bat, which isn't too bad, but considering the numbers I can see up here, kind of explains why he starts, I wouldn't say on the higher side, but you know, we kind of saw these in the original Red Zone events on Movie Edition and also the GT Edition. A couple of stages deep on the minion phases that did this, so quite similar to that. He has a 16% chance to super attack, and he does 1, and he has 54% damage reduction. Then when he goes into the second form, once again, as I said, you can counter and dodge him throughout the entirety of this stage. However, you cannot no longer lower his attack and defense, which is kind of the standard for literally the majority of harder events in Dokkan nowadays. He goes up to 26 million HP, so his HP takes a bit of a jump. There's 150k on basics, which again, overall this probably won't be doing too much. If you're taking like some of the top tier units, you'll be tanking for double digits. Even Namek with type disadvantage, who should be doing well here, considering, you know, the final phase is tech, you have time to stack. The only thing you would have to worry about with Namek here, or any stackers that are int types like UI Goku, easier UI Goku, is the fact that they have type disadvantage, so the supers will do a chunk. That is apparent. That is something that will definitely happen. As long as you can avoid them, hopefully, then you'll be fine. And, you know, potentially if you're using some units that have heals, like the Year 3 EZAs, or you've brought a support memory that heals you, or maybe even an item if you want to try and risk it, then you should be fine. He does 6 attacks also. He has 17% chance to do 1 less attack. He has 56k defense. He does 375 on super attack, so not really too big of a jump up from first form. But I said, you do want to watch out for like Namek, who, as I said, he's actually going to be pretty good here. Watch the global bias come out. But yeah, 375. His super attack is an AoE. So if you've brought a bunch of stackers, you are going to have to be careful, especially with type disadvantage. And also the wrong unit can be hit, because when he super attacks, he will AoE. This isn't like Broly where he has a super and just a separate AoE, which is a group attack. His super is an AoE. So at some points, you do want to be careful who is on rotation if you've got like a bunch of stackers, if they have type disadvantage, because one of the wrong units can be hit and bang, you've taken a chunk of damage, maybe even as far as being dead. And he'll do 1 super attack per turn, and he has 57% damage reduction. Then into third form, health goes up to 30 million. His attacks, his basic attacks start doing a little bit more, 230k. But again, you're probably still going to be taking double digits at this point on most units, because again, you're going to be stacking up throughout this 2 phases, also now on the third form phase. Not to mention again, Your defense probably going to be in the region of like 200k, 300k plus, units that have guard and damage reduction. So this wouldn't be too much of a worry unless the wrong unit is hit. He's now doing 2 extra attacks. He's gone from 6 to 8. He has an 11% chance to do 1 less attack, so that's gone down. He has 64k defense, and his super attack damage jumps up quite a bit. It goes from 375 to 644k. So this is where Frieza starts to pick up, and he starts doing some dangerous damage. But again, by this point, units have been stacking for a couple turns through 2 whole phases, including now starting to stack on the 3rd form phase. But again, this is probably when you want to start being kind of careful. But for the most part, if you're taking some of the better units, especially ones that stack, you should be relatively okay. Same said to be with Ginyu. Like, I know he does have type disadvantage against full power Frieza down here, so you may want to avoid using him. But considering if you have the Rakuma and Golo, Ginyu can sit in slot 2, stack up the entire time with literally no worry because he's never going to get hit before he supers. He can stack up pretty much almost carefree, especially if you have dupes and you're hitting additionals along the way up here. While Rakuma and Goldo is soaking up all the damage in slot 1. So Ginyu is actually still a viable option, and you can probably get his defense to kind of a point where you don't have to worry too much here, or it won't be as dangerous as you possibly think. But still a little bit risky because of the type disadvantage and the amount of damage full power Frieza will eventually do. He does raise his defense for the turn, so he will take a little bit of extra knocks before you do actually beat him. He has a 17% chance to super attack. He does maximum of 1 in a turn, and now he has 60% damage reduction. Now going on to the penultimate phase against Final Form Frieza. His health jumps up by an extra 5 million to 35 million. He now does 300k on basics, but again, I wouldn't worry about this too much because again, the stackers have been stacking for 4 phases now, or up to 4 phases. You've got your damage reduction units, you've got your guard units. You should be okay, but the wrong unit or someone who hasn't supered yet may take a fair chunk on basics at this point. He does 9 attacks in this phase. He has an 8% less chance to do 1 less attack. So he's gone down by another 3%. He has 78k defense, and he does 750k on the super. He also stacks. Yeah, Frieza's not playing around. He stacks his attack. So the longer you are in this phase against Final Form Frieza, the more damage he is going to do. So this 750 is going to rise. So you want to get into this phase and you want to get out as quick as possible. If you're taking Nameku, you're going to want those additionals to come off. You're going to want to be hitting the 18 keys along the way so he can actually raise his attack along with raising defense. So having dupes in him is going to be key. You're going to want type advantage units. The Year 7 LR gods are going to be great here because they're going to be stacking the entire time, raising their attack and defense. And then they're going to be doing a whole bunch of damage to Frieza while having type advantage. And also, if you're getting a 20 key or more, super attacking at least twice. And then if you're having dupes in them, potentially 3 times in a turn. Same can be said with the SJ4s because they don't have that added type advantage. But you're going to want to get into that phase and get out as quickly as possible. Otherwise, Frieza's going to start doing some crazy damage. And units that you don't want to be caught with super attacks and even base attacks in general, especially before you super, they're going to start being open to a bit more damage if you are not careful. But as I said, you just need to get through this phase as quickly as possible. There's a 21% chance to super attack. He can do 2 a turn, which makes his stacking even more dangerous because he can potentially super attack twice in 1 turn, which means his attack's constantly going to stack up quicker. So again, in, out as quick as possible. Shake it all about if you want to go that far. 63% damage reduction, and then the final phase against full power Frieza. His attack type, again, this is why I said someone like Easy AUI Goku, LR Nameku can actually work here. You just have to be careful of the type disadvantage phase and hopefully they don't get supered along the way. Against the second phase, have type advantage, they would have been stacking the entire time. Goku defensively should be fine. Should be doing some extra damage, you know, especially if you're hitting off the 18 key, you're stacking your attack and defense during this phase. He goes up to 41 million HP, 380k on basics, but again, if you've been bringing stackers, they stacked up at this point, you should be fine. You know, you've got your guard and damage reduction units. You can, as I said, throughout the entire event, dodge and counter if you want to try and play that risky game. But that is a possibility. He does 10 attacks in a turn. There's an 8% chance to do 1 less attack. He has 85k defense. And his super attack damage jumps up so much. He goes from 750k on the final form to up to 1.444 million in full power. He actually does more damage than Broly, but of course he has more phases than Broly, so you have time. So that is kind of the balancing factor of There's more phases, but he does do more damage than Broly's final phase. So that is kind of the trade-off, but he does do quite a lot on super attack, so the wrong unit gets hit, just like always in red zone that we're used to by now, will get you killed. But again, you can dodge, you can counter as kind of like a last resort if it does come off. He does raise his attack for 1 turn. Thank God he doesn't stack, but even this is going to be dangerous. A 30% attack increase on top of the fact he already does 1.44 million is dangerous. Even some of the better units, if you're not careful, if he is super attacking often in here, which hopefully doesn't happen, this will go up every time he super attacks, which is dangerous, even from some of the better units. His SA chance is 14%. Thank God that goes all the way down, one of the lowest in the entire event. Because you imagine if this kept going up and he had like almost a 21% chance to do that. Yeah, crazy. And he has 65% damage reduction. So while he does a lot of damage here and he does raise attack for 1 turn, as I said, you do have one of the lowest percentage chances to actually super attack in this phase and portion of the fight, which is kind of the balancing. So yeah, this looks actually like on a reasonable first stage against Frieza, going through his entire forms. It should be a lot of fun. As I said, you can counter, you can dodge. There's no gimmick of a KO super, no lock. They can't stun you, he can't seal you. So yeah, this actually looks pretty good. I can't wait to actually give this a go. But this kind of worries me because again, you just need to get in and get out. And so does this. So, but by this time, I said everyone would have been stacking. And you just want to just murder him, basically. So Nameku, as I said, is probably going to be the absolute king of this one once you get past the Fizz phase. And then we have stage 2 against Cooler. Only the 2 phases, no minion phases. You have his final form, or you have 4th form, basically, and then final form. He starts off with 31.5 million HP. You can't stun, you can't seal, you can't lower attack and defense. However, he can stun you, and he has a 50% chance to do so for 2 turns. So standard stunning, but at least it's not guaranteed, but that can still kind of thwart your plans, if you will. If the wrong unit does get stunned, you kind of avoid big damage, you know, things like that. Only 2 phases, so there's only 2 type-ins, so you could stack up on Fizz units to just overload him and just have type advantage against him. You know, you have the LRSSJ4s, who, while you can't stack them up too much, of course, you've got the damage reduction per rainbow keys for obtained. You can actually counter in this event as well. You still have counter and dodges, so you can counter him with SSJ4, LRSSJ4 Gogeta. So yeah, the Year 7 LRs are going to be good here, especially SSJ4s. Who else is there? Easy A Future Gohan's going to be good here again. Type advantage, full damage reduction, greatly raised attack and defense. Any additionals are going to be welcome. You know, the Year 3 LR Gogeta. After his Easy A, also the heal. There's some good units here. But yeah, 31.5 million HP on the first phase, 290 immediately on basic. So you probably want to watch out for them. He does 9 attacks. He has a 10% chance to do 1 less attack. 80k defense. Immediately he's doing 812k on super. So while Cooler only has 2 phases, to make up for that, he is immediately doing big damage. A lot of units in the game, he can pretty much almost, if not one-shot you, if he supers early on. So that is a little bit scary. You're going to want to be careful there. He does have the 50% chance, as I said, to stun you for 2 turns, which, as I said, can be quite frustrating, but you're just going to have to hope for the best. Super attack chance is 14%. He only super attacks once in a turn, and he has 64% damage reduction. And then you have the final form Cooler, who loses his stun, which, I mean, with 1.5 million super attack damage, that's generous. Thank you, Dokkan, I guess. He has 50 million HP. That takes a whole big jump. Goes from 290 on basics to 400k. So you're going to have to be very careful here and take the best of the best in terms of units. He does 10 attacks, 87k defense. Goes from 812k on super attack from the first phase to 1.52 million on the second phase, which is dangerous. Like, any unit, or the majority of units, will indeed get you killed. I said at the beginning of the video, currently, and hopefully by the time you're seeing this video this still is the case, but currently as recording this, it may be patched and fixed by the time I drop the video. Currently at this moment in time, Cooler doesn't super attack you. So no matter if you've completed Frieza or not, forget the order, forget the OCD if you've got it, go and do stage 2 and beat Cooler while he doesn't super attack you. I don't know if it's on both phases or just on one of them, but regardless, while he can't super attack you, take advantage of that and beat him. If it's patched by the time this video comes out, then unfortunately we missed it, boys. We're gonna have to deal with it. We're gonna have to deal with it at, you know, at its worst. He does also raise his attack for 1 turn, which is again insane considering he already does 1.52 million damage. So you're gonna have to be careful there. I mean, even if, actually I'll say you're gonna have to be careful. If you survive and he super attacks you, I mean, actually to be fair, I say if you survive, a lot of units are gonna die to this anyway. So the fact he raises his attack means not a whole lot, but it does scare me the fact that Frieza and Cooler can raise their attack. It actually does scare me, considering how much damage they already do on super attack. He remains with a 14% chance to super attack, and he super attacks once in 1 turn, and has 66% damage reduction. So those are all the details for the current stage 1 and stage 2 of the new Ultimate Red Zone Wicked Bloodline edition. I will do more videos when the newer stages drop, but I thought this would be helpful for you, even though it is quite premature and we don't have all the stages just yet. But I said, hopefully this helps you. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next video, guys, and push.